Hi, it's No Cap Sunday. I'm in my favorite spot in the bay window at the house. But guess who taught the Sunday school lesson today? Me. Just to kind of recap on what happened in Sunday school and what we learned today, basically about counting the cost of discipleship, and talked about how we have to count the cost of what it means to be a disciple of Christ and to be a Christian, same thing. Um, and one of the parables or one of the stories that were told was basically talking about, does a man start to build a house without counting the cost, without knowing how much it's going to cost to get this thing done? And then if he doesn't get it done, don't people basically say, he was foolish for not even realizing how much it was going to cost or how much it was going to be to get, to finish this project? Don't you want to finish building a home? And so, in short, it just basically was saying that you have to count the cost of what it means to proclaim Christianity. That means that you're going to be sacrificing a lot in the way of what you naturally want to do. And so we talked about that and how there is constantly a spiritual battle within yourself of what you would normally do versus what you need to do, what you're supposed to do spiritually. And we talked about how that is a constant battle. I always refer to, the one that just does whatever without thinking about it, just reacting and going on, as my Shay Shay personality. Okay. Just do it. And sometimes Shay Shay wins over Sharonda, and that's just part of it, and that's why I like the title of The Imperfect Christian, because we're not perfect. We're striving for perfection, but you have to recognize those things that need work. A lot of times we don't want that constructive feedback. We don't want to be told what we need to work on or what we need to do better at. We want to just continue to be able to do whatever we want to, because a lot of times how we are feels just fine. It's not, we feel like it's not hurting anybody. It's what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. I also talked about how a lot of times society tricks us and seduces us with things that we don't really realize that we're being seduced by. TV, commercials, music, and how we should be the salt of the earth. I know that you guys have heard this before about being salty, and the world uses salty more like being agitated or irritated. Why are you salty about, But in the Bible, salty means, to me, what I got was being flavorful. A lot of times Christians are labeled as, uptight, very just staunch, in everything that they do. You're not fun. You can't do stuff. And it's kind of a turnoff. But as Christians, we're supposed to be flavorful. I don't consider myself someone that's not full of flavor. I have personality. I bring that personality and those gifts and those things, to God, when I give him praise and honor and all those things, that we talked about. So that's part of counting the cost. That's part of paying the cost of being a disciple. When people hear anything about, we don't like to give up anything, and one of the aspects that I thought about was, sometimes you have to give, and we talk about this when it comes to worldly things. Like if you're starting a business, everybody knows you have to put in before you reap from that business. It's the same thing with your Christianity. We do the same thing with relationships. You got to put in the work, to be successful. And it's the same thing with being a Christian. You have to put in the work. You have to be willing to feel that pain a little bit. I used an example of the potter and the clay. It's a very common scenario that we talk about and that we've heard of often. Well, I have seen, actually, we went to like the Passion Play some years back. We went a few times actually. And one of the things that you get the chance to see, if you choose to, is to go see the potter and the clay. And the clay always starts off as just this lump, kind of like mess. And as the potter it starts to spin, and the clay kind of fights back and forth with the hands of the potter. And then the more that the potter just holds on to it, it starts to shape and get smooth. And then, it results into this beautiful vase, or, whatever the structure is that's being shaped into. That's how God is with us. We start off kind of lumpy and just kind of, resistant. And in his hands, he holds on to us. And we kind of resist at first because it does not feel natural to be that way. We just want to do what we want to do and just kind of buck the system. But he keeps his hands on us. And the more he keeps his hands on us, the more we smooth out. And we are beautifully developed through his hands. So that's part of being a Christian. You have to be willing to give in to God's hands and his structure, his direction, and be willing to feel a little uncomfortable. There are a lot of things that God has shown me about myself that I was fine with, but they weren't fine for me, if that makes sense. You also have to be willing to leave some things behind, forsake material things, and when I say get rid of, it means anything that's going to serve as a distraction to your growth. You need to let that go. You need to move on from it so that you can grow. And sometimes we think of things as a loss. Sometimes giving up things is to gain. I know that sounds backwards. Sometimes you have to give up something, give something to gain even more that's better for you. And so we had a great Sunday school lesson today. I really enjoyed it. Not just because I taught it, but because it just had a lot of interesting points and things that I, was able to relate to and take on day-to-day lessons, with me. I hope that this recap for Sunday has helped someone. You guys, make sure that you follow me on Instagram, Shay Cherie. Also follow my YouTube channel, subscribe. I cannot emphasize enough to subscribe to that channel. I try to load everything up on Instagram, but sometimes I can't get all of my videos on there. So the best way to see all of the videos is through Shay Cherie YouTube. Also, you can follow me on Facebook, Memoirs of an Imperfect Christian. And I hope you guys are having a great weekend. See you later. Bye.